Welcome to Talking Giants, presented by DraftKings. I'm your host, Bobby Skinner, here with my co-host, Justin Pennick, and it is game week, and we are doing a preseason mailbag today. So we're answering your questions. We haven't done a mailbag since probably 2 months ago. Soon enough, we'll be having them every Wednesday, but today we're doing it on a Tuesday. We're laboring on Labor Day. Justin, how are you?
Bobby Skinner, I had a Labor Day weekend. I had a Labor Day weekend. Went down the beach, went down the shore, went to an establishment that you go to at night. I spent probably a half an hour in there because it was too crowded, and then I smoked a cigar with some buddies. So now I have a hat on because we woke up, we're recording this early on a Monday morning on Labor Day, and I didn't want to take a shower, and my hair looks like a mess, and I have a hat on. How are you? How was your weekend?
It was good. It was good. You know who else had a good weekend? Robert Bowen, brother of Bruce Bowen, who was, one of the dirtiest defenders in the league, mastered the side shot, even though he had really no offensive game. And then I remember when the Mavs tried to, they were hacking him in a playoff game in the early 2000s. Dustin Fairchild, who was part of the world beater tier, and Rahul Bajaj, who is Rahul and Dustin. They're like a crime-fighting duo. Who are these duos, Justin? Trios.
The trio of wonderful people. They went to patreon.com/talkinggiants. I always alternate saying backslash and slash, and I think we talked about it one time that backslash, there's no need for me to say backslash because a slash is like self-explanatory. So, patreon.com/talkinggiants. $2 a month or more if you want to just support us and get some extra tiers. $2 a month, you get to hang out with us as we watch the show live. I mean, we got a crew of people on Labor Day hanging out with us, and especially on Sunday. This Sunday, you want to be there with us celebrating a Week 1 victory. Patreon.com/talkinggiants. Thank you to our patrons. Bobby Skinner, you saw some turtles this weekend.
Oh, yes. Yeah, hung out, did a little Labor Day barbecue at the park, not the beach, but that's whatever. At the park, hung out with a guy who was, really wasted by 12 o'clock.
I was about to say, you saw a guy, he had a nice beer gut on him.
He was hammered. I mean, we saw him at 8 o'clock in the morning, and he was just blitzed. And then finally we're like, all right, dude, we're trying to have like a family barbecue here. Like,
Happy Labor Day.
You got to move along, my man. I was playing horseshoes with him. Anyways, Justin, is there no really news before we get into this mailbag, besides that Ian Rappaport says Saquon's gearing up? Saquon's playing week 1. Saquon is playing week 1. Book it. Bing, bang, boom. Saquon's playing week 1, and I am ready for it.
I don't think there ever was a doubt. Even though you did say that Jordan Raanan and Ian Rappaport
every single beat reporter was saying that he might not play.
Well, guess what? Weren't you the one just, 3 days ago saying that you're done with speculation from these beat reporters?
Okay, but we also had it from other people that they were going to ease him back. But it was a question, though. It was a question that if he was going to play week. I mean, he hasn't even been tackled yet. It's starting. He has not been tackled yet. So, and Joe Judge said that has to happen.
But wasn't there a practice? Jordan Raanan said that he did take contact reps last week. He wrote that in an article. He hasn't been tackled yet. Jordan Raanan wrote something in an article that he took contact reps, but I don't know what. Again, I don't know what that means.
Yeah, it's practice thuds, which now that there's no preseason. I don't think they're going to be tackling him to the ground in practice, but it'll be his first reps. We're going to the ground most likely will be Sunday versus the Broncos. So I'm getting pumped. We're kind of finishing off the off season now, and it's like, okay, we got a game preview episode on Friday. I'm pumped for that. Other news, there really isn't any. Enjoyed some college football. Got some. I fell in love with another Georgia linebacker, Nakobe Dean, and that's it. So, Steve, take it away.
Mail time. Mail time. The mail's here. Come on. Bye, guys. Here's the mail. It never fails. It makes me want to wag my tail. When it comes, I want to wail.
All right. Thanks, Steve from Blues Clues. Justin, let's get into the mail.
First question is coming from Jesse Semino, but I think he changed his name, so it's Jesse P at JesseP_Semino. What was your most surprising roster cut from this past week, and what was your most surprising player to actually make the roster?
So I want to rephrase this because there was cuts that happened that we weren't surprised at, but if you would have asked us to be at like the start of training camp, it would have been a surprise. So I want to rephrase it into who was like day of camp starts, like this guy gets cut, this guy makes it. what surprised you. So I'll let you do your surprising cut first, Justin.
All right, then it's Ifedi.
Yeah, Ifedi's the easiest one. There's
Yeah.
not even one that's even close to that I looked at. There was not even one that was close.
Yeah. And what was your surprising player to actually make the roster? I'd say Justin Hilliard. He's a guy that I feel like that's gone under the radar so far. And, you know, Bobby, you looked at him and there was nothing that really like impressed you about him. But he's like on the roster and he's a linebacker. So is he just like a special teams player? Like what's his role? The fact that we're looking at him and we're not really that excited about him. So Justin Hilliard's that player that's like most surprising that he made the roster, but he wasn't here during training camp preseason. But he is very surprising.
Yeah, I would have been surprised at the beginning of camp if you told me Justin Hilliard would have made the roster since he wasn't on the team. I will go Sam Beal.
Yeah.
I mean, we had totally written off Sam Beal at the start of camp. It was, all right, it's like he's here. We have to have 90 men on the roster. He opted out last year, so he owes the Giants a little bit of money, which he's going to have to, he's going to get, a portion of his salary will be taken out after this week, which you almost wonder, it's like, do they have that in mind when they brought him back? I don't think that was that big of a deal for them, but hold on.
Bobby Skinner's been having problems with motorcycles and people outside of his house recently. And I think he's going to beat the crap out of somebody right now, if you ask me. He's going to beat the absolute living crap out of somebody. A lot of people, I'm sure, also have a problem that I have a Nebraska hat on over a Rutgers hat. I think that's a problem for a lot of people.
So I don't think that was the deciding factor, but we had totally written off Sam Beal as a part of this roster all off season. It was like he's gone, he's a cut, and now he's on the team. And you know, if Adoree Jackson doesn't play this week, which I expect him to play, like Sam Beal could actually get some reps week 1.
I think Sam Beal did play his way onto the roster though, which good for him. You know, especially based off of what we saw in New England, and credit to Snacks. Snacks was actually, I think he was on the show, and not just the live stream, but I think on the show, Snacks was like, Sam Beal could play his way onto this roster. And, you know, we're looking at him like, are you crazy, bud? But no, he kind of did. So good for Sam Beal. And, you know, he's a talented player for a reason. They actually have a little bit invested in him with that 3rd round compensatory pick. And, you know, he's here and probably not going to get a lot of playing time, God willing, because of the depth that we have. But good for him that he's here.
Yeah, and totally lost my train of thought.
I don't think he was just given that roster spot. I actually do think that he earned it.
Well, yeah, that's what I was going to say is, like, in that Cleveland game, like, the clip I posted of him, like, fading away went viral. But it was like, he was kind of, like, better than other corners out there that day.
Yeah.
You know, it was just that one bad clip where he just totally misjudged the ball and floated away.
And I do think he is the best corner that we have right now. I'm talking about on the roster, the best corner that we have against the run. I really do.
Yeah, I got no clue about that. Yeah, I don't really pay attention to the corners versus the run. But yeah, next question.
Next question. Benjamin at B Scolo. He's going to be upset that I'm wearing a Nebraska hat over a Rutgers hat. Is Jonathan Harrison getting cut the biggest L of the offseason?
Well, I don't even think it's an L because they added Ben Bredesen and Billy Price. Nate Solder's obviously going to be there. So there's your 3 depth linemen. Maybe Shane Lemieux is considered depth after this week. And then even Matt Skura is a more accomplished, probably better center in the NFL, and they have him on the practice squad. So I don't think it's even an... Now, I would rather have him on the practice squad than Kenny Wiggins, but I'm not going to fret over the 10th man, especially when you have 3 people at his specific position of center ahead of him. You know, like Brett Heggie, we liked him as a practice squad guy, but it's like there's 3 centers ahead of him. I don't know if they want to keep him around. So I don't even view it as an L. I mean, I think the biggest L of the offseason is not bringing in offensive line competition to start. Yeah. I know that there's been talk about depth coming into camp. I felt good about the depth. There was the starters, and that they didn't like. The issue was that the depth was probably a little too close to what the starting level was. I think that's the biggest L of the offseason. And I don't mean drafting someone on day 3 in the draft would have fixed that. I'm talking about like a day 1, day 2 pick, or signing someone in free agency that was going to play on the offensive line. Or at least compete for a starting group. So I would view that as the biggest L of the offseason.
Yeah, I would agree with that. You know, I love the Aaron Robinson pick, but possibly getting an interior offensive line here that fit that 3rd round mold where, you even if that guy can't come in here and play day one. Well, let's even do this, Bobby. Ben Cleveland's been my go-to guy that the Giants maybe could have possibly taken in the middle of the draft. Who would you prefer as a player and as a starter right now? Ben Cleveland or Shane Lemieux?
Ben Cleveland easily.
So there you go.
And even the Ravens picked Ben Cleveland over Ben Bredesen. I know it's a more recent pick, but still.
Yeah. So yeah, that's kind of like who they preferred there. So I think that is definitely the biggest L of the offseason. I like Aaron Robinson. I love investing in corner, but kind of looking back on it, it's like, well, you have Darnay Holmes and Aaron Robinson starting. At least when we're looking at it in 2021, Aaron Robinson is starting on this PUP list, and the Giants we're really shaking in our boots about this offensive line. Not just the depth. We're just shaking about it, the offensive line in general.
Yeah, it's the depth. Now I'm not even worried about the depth. The depth is not the issue to me now that they added Bredesen and Price. It's the starters, and that the depth could compete with the starters in multiple different levels. That Nate Solder may be better than Matt Parrott. That, Ben Bredesen could be better than Shane Lemieux, or Billy Price could be better than Shane Lemieux. That's what the depth isn't what worried me. The depth I feel good about now. It's the starters that I'm worried about. And again, I don't think drafting someone in round 4 through 7 would have made me feel better about that, unless it was Trey Smith. But with Trey Smith, it was all the hell. There was a reason he dropped. He seems to be doing fine now. But Trey Smith is the only round 4 through 7 who would have made me feel better about the offensive line this year.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so next 2 questions. We got a pair talking about some expectations. Steven Toronto at SToronto92. Go give him a follow. Works for CBS Sports. You mentioned being nervous that this team has expectations for the first time in a while, Bobby. Do we really, though? It still feels like most talking heads hates us and think we suck. And then Jake Java at JakeTrek22. Is the immensely low expectations from the media an advantage or a disadvantage?
I don't care about the outside media. The expectations for the New York Giants are internal. And here's how you know there's expectations. It is playoffs or bust. If we don't make the playoffs, and I'm not talking about an 11-6 season where you miss the playoffs. If you don't make the playoffs, Dave Gettleman's fired. If Daniel Jones doesn't look good, he's probably done. Or he should at least be done if he's not good this year. It's year 3 for the QB. It's year 2 for the coach we like. They kept the same offensive coordinator, so they said we believe in him. So it is win or else for the New York Giants internally. I know it feels a lot less fun now that we saw the offensive line that preseason game, but I'm sorry, there is expectations for this team to win. That is my expectations. Anything less than that will be a failure to me. If they are not in the playoffs, this season will be a failure. If they are 9-8 and don't make the playoffs, it is a failure to me.
Yeah, I do like to think that some of the players kind of look at the media and they like to maybe get motivated by that. I think Saquon's the kind of guy where Saquon does like to look at that stuff, where Saquon likes to look at some of the doubters. I know Blake Martinez has liked tweets of people slandering him. Luckily, he's never liked my tweet that I had after we signed him. But Daniel Jones never looks at that stuff. So I think it depends on the player. But in terms of the organization, do I think the media is putting pressure just on the organization? No. It's time. It's time. I don't think just because the media is saying that the Giants are not good or are still not good, despite spending all this money, despite having that franchise quarterback, so to speak, despite having that franchise left tackle, we hope, it's go time. The pieces are supposed to be there. The investments that they've made are there. It's go time. So whatever the results is.
Year 4 of a GM, year 3 of a QB. It is win or else. So the expectations be internal. The outside media stuff, in fact, I'd almost rather them be the way they are. Where, like you mentioned, it could be a little galvanizing thing for the team. They don't believe in us. They don't believe in us. Shock the world type thing. But internally, there has to be expectations for this team to be a playoff team. Yeah. To me, it is playoffs or bust. Yeah. And again, if they go 9-8 and make the playoffs, cool. If they go 9-8, miss the playoffs, then not cool. It is really as semantic. That is as semantics as that is. That is where I feel. Make the playoffs this year or bust. You're in a bad division.
There's no longer that. If you finish 6-2 in your final 8 games of the season, but you go 8-9 and miss the playoffs, there's no more of that. There's no more of Look at the final 8 games of the season, which that's what Mara and, the talking heads within the organization, that's what they've tried to make us think the last few years is, look at how we finished. Oh, but look at this. Look at how in 2019 we scored the most points in the NFC East. And then they go out the next year and score the least amount of points. That was the talking point that really it pushed us forward for 2020, and it didn't. So there's no more excuses. At the end of the year, I kind of don't want to hear what is going to be the one little fine point that the Giants organization is going to plunk out to try and convince us of to have hope the next year. Let's just do it this year. Let's win some ball games.
Playoffs or bust, and I love saying that because the NFL is back. Get in on the action with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. And with the NFL returning, DraftKings is giving new customers $200 in free bets instantly when you bet $1 or more on any football game. Listen up, because you don't want to miss this. Head to DraftKings Sportsbook app now and place a bet of $1 or more on any Week 1 game to receive $200 in free bets instantly. If Sportsbook is not yet available in your state, DraftKings still has huge cash prizes for grabs all season long with their daily fantasy contests. And for Week 1, DraftKings is giving all new customers a free shot at $1 million top prizes. Nothing adds the excitement of watching a game quite like having a free shot at $1 million top prize. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use promo code JOHNBOY to receive $200 in free bets when you place a $1 bet on any football game. And get a free shot at $1 million top prize with your first deposit. That's promo code JOHNBOY this week at DraftKings Sportsbook, and an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Must be 21 or older, New Jersey, Indiana, or Pennsylvania only. New customers only. Minimum $5 deposit and $1 wager required, one per customer. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER, in Indiana, 1-800-9-WITH-IT.
I would love $1 million. Next question is coming from Wes Locke at Westy Westicles, which I met Wes multiple times at Giants games, and I love how he has a lot of our different shirts. So I was at a tailgate with Wes, and I saw him in parking lot K. He was wearing one Talking Giants shirt. And then I saw him in parking lot J. He changed Talking Giants shirts and had a Hog Molly's long sleeve on, which I didn't realize how good the Hog Molly's and long sleeves looks. Okay, Westlock asks, other than Scora, which practice squad player do you think has the most impact this season? Which member do you think has the highest ceiling for future years? Can I start this off, Bobby Skinner?
Go for it.
I'm going to go with Dante Pettis. I think the fact that he actually made the practice squad and he made it through waivers is kind of cool. And especially when you consider that John Ross is starting the season on an IR, you would think that Pettis would have actually made the team and made the main 53. But they signed Colin Johnson. So the fact that Dante Pettis is here and we kind of stashed him away, I think that's pretty cool. And if there's one guy, if you look at that practice squad list, who can actually come up and maybe have an immediate impact if he needs to, I think Dante Pettis is the guy.
I think Pettis has the highest ceiling. But for him to have a big impact this year, it'd have to be like a good amount of injuries. It wouldn't be just one.
Yeah.
There's two guys that one injury would make them important players right away. One is Trent Harris, the outside linebacker, who was meant to be on the fourth man on the roster. If Carter, Aziz, O'Shane, or Roche miss a game, Trent Harris is active, and he's probably playing reps to that game. So him. And the other one is Ryan Izzo, the tight end out of from the Patriots. He was with the Texans during camp this year, which we didn't really talk about a lot. But he started a lot of games for the Patriots. He was a starting level player. And if Evan Ingram's missing a game, if Kyle Rudolph's missing a game, Ryan Izzo will play, and we're going to use 3 tight end sets. And if both of those guys are missing, he's going to play 50% of reps in one game. So I will go Trent Harris more so though, because there's just such a rotation at that position. And, Lorenzo's coming off injury. We don't know what Quincy Roche and Aziz are going to be as rookies. O'Shane doesn't really drop in the coverage or play the run well, so I will say Trent Harris for me.
Yeah, that's a good one. All right, so next question is coming from Paul Nonis at Paul Nonis. This is a really good question. I have a very interesting take. I think we both have interesting takes on it. Have your views on Judge changed based on the way the offense has looked so far? What if this is his offensive philosophy too, not just Garrett? I want to focus on, at least for my part of the answer, I want to focus on the second part of the question, because I don't know. My views on Judge have not changed based on how the offenses look so far. Wait for actual gameplay, wait for week 1. What if this is his offensive philosophy too, not just Garrett? I have a fear this year. So I like to do the whole thing of fears I would never say out loud or fears I would never take, but I have. So I would never say this out loud. But I have a fear that I'm going to like Patrick Graham a whole lot more than Joe Judge this year. I have a feeling I'm going to get, based on the offense and based on the same critiques that we had of Pat Shurmur on his defense, I'm afraid. I don't think this is going to happen, but I'm afraid that I'm going to like Patrick Graham a lot more than Joe Judge this year.
Okay. Here's my view on it. Last year, that was like my worries, like, man, this might be Joe Judge's offense just as much as it is Garrett's. Then the Freddie Kitchens game totally changes my view on that. It's like, oh my gosh, we just called the most aggressive game plan offensively of the year with Colt McCoy playing versus a very good defense in the Cleveland Browns. Like, the Cleveland Browns have had a really, especially like Myles Garrett. I know he was battling COVID, but like they attacked downfield with Colt McCoy as their QB, the one game that Jason Garrett's missing. And then you actually saw Garrett versus the Ravens and the Cowboys week 16 and 17 open it up a little more. Nothing crazy, but like some more, vertical concepts with crossers across the middle, which gives me hope going into this season. But if it is the same or very similar, last year it's like, okay, was Garrett Judge's guy? Probably not. It's probably a heavy influence from the ownership on that one. But Joe Judge decided to keep Jason Garrett here, so now he is his guy. Because Joe Judge could have, like, if Joe Judge wanted to fire Jason Garrett and made that vocal to ownership, I sincerely doubt that they forced him to keep him. I sincerely doubt that. Joe Judge kept him. Now it is your offense. So Judge, like, as much as we give Joe Judge a working with Patrick Graham on the defense, Joe Judge has to take criticism if the offense is similar, and it's going to have a lot of the same, they ran in that preseason game the first half stick like 8 times. Go watch the Mark Schofield breakdown, and it's like curl, curl, curl. So are they going to open it up a little more this year? Probably. But also, like, those are big-time staples of this offense. So, yeah, Joe Judge, it may not be – if he brought in Chad O'Shea as his OC, would it look like this? Probably not. But he kept Jason Garrett. Whatever the offense is, Joe Judge has to own as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I hate that I have that fear, but I do. And it's a reality. It's a reality. I would hate for it to be week 9 and the Giants offense is bad again and the Giants defense is good and I am now starting to dislike Joe Judge because the same problems are continuing and sustaining themselves with this offense. I would hate that.
The honeymoon is over for like, if the Giants are bad this year, like, a lot of people like Joe Judge, we like Joe Judge. But if they don't win games this year, like, people are going to turn on Joe Judge quick. I mean, I've seen it a million times with, the New York fan base in general. But, like, I mean, Tom Coughlin was fired 3 times by the Giants, basically.
Yeah.
Like, there was 3 different times where Coughlin was fired by the Giants. Like, it will turn quick.
Yep.
So that's why, there is expectations to win. And Joe Judge should feel the expectations to win. He decided to keep Jason Garrett. I don't agree with that decision, but he decided to do it. So, yeah, he takes ownership of this offense. He brought in Freddie Kitchens, some different guys on the staff. So, Joe Judge's handprints will be on this offense. You can't just say, it's all Jason Garrett at the end of the year. Like, it is on Joe Judge as much as it is on Garrett.
No, and instead of just I hope I'm not bashing Judge, but part of the reason why there is expectations on this team is because of Joe Judge. Not just because of the talent that they added, but because a lot of people, if we're talking about the national media, right, which that's what Steven Toronto was asking about before, if we're talking about the media, then I think the Giants have expectations because I think everybody views Joe Judge as an up and coming, pretty good, solid head coach in the National Football League. And I do think he is. I already think he's a very good coach. To get a group of veterans and also a group of young guys, but a lot of veterans to, lock into what you're doing and what you're kind of presenting, especially as like a tough, hard-nosed coach, I think that's a very big success. So,
and I believe in Joe Judge, and I think we're going to win this year. Like, yeah. I do think the Giants are going to win and make the playoffs this year. When I say that, it's like that's my expectation because that's what I believe will happen.
Yeah.
And part of that, like you said, is because I do think Joe Judge is a head coach, and as much as I don't think Jason Garrett's going to transform his entire offense over one offseason after being in the NFL for so long. I do expect it to be different. I do expect it to be some of the same staples of the offense, but also he has vertical concepts and crossers and stuff in his playbook. It's not like just Garrett doesn't have that in his playbook. Like Freddie Kitchens didn't create a bunch of new plays for that Cleveland game. It was the same exact playbook. He was just going to some of the other things a little more often than Jason Garrett would. So
yeah. And the personnel is so different. Like you have to be different when the personnel is so different, So, all right. So Eric Feldman, Eric at @E_Feld. If it were up to you two, how would you rotate the edge rushers? Specific snap share or ride the hot hand, assuming / hoping someone gets hot? How do you think Graham rotates them week 1?
That's paired with 2 other questions, too.
And that is paired with 2 other questions. One of them from Porky Blunders. Give me each of your favorite players at the outside linebacker spot at this very moment. And then also Freddie Goodall asks, do you think Quincy Roche can jump O'Shane Ximines in the depth chart?
So basically, it's just how do we see the outside linebacker room playing out? Here's how I would do it. I would do it kind of similar to the way they started last year. If Lorenzo's that guy, he's that same guy. And if he's like clearly better than Azeez Ojulari, like from rip, I would give him 85 to 90% of the snaps. Not as much as he was getting last year, but still a lot. I would give Azeez like around 60%. And then I would have Quincy and O'Shane battling for like that 20 to 30% per game, in different matchups, you use different things. But, I like O'Shane Ximines, I defended him after the draft when people were wanting to move on from him. We did a segment on it. Like, don't give up on O'Shane. But O'Shane doesn't play the run well. He doesn't drop in the coverage. Quincy Roche does. So if Quincy Roche can be close to O'Shane as a pass rusher, I want Quincy jumping O'Shane on reps. So I think it's more so the battle is for that third guy between O'Shane and Roche. And then I think Carter gives like 85%, Azeez 55 to 60%.
Yeah, I think 70 to 80% for Carter, and I don't think that's a reflection on Carter. I think that's a reflection on them maybe wanting to give Azeez some extra reps where you feel better. I think you feel a little bit better about Azeez Ojulari getting reps versus Kyler Fackrell. So if we view Azeez as an upgrade over Kyler Fackrell, then give Azeez more snaps with Lorenzo Carter, or even take Lorenzo Carter off the field a little bit more. So I think 70 to 80% is just fine, because I think we looked at 90. I was looking at 90% of the snaps last year in certain games. Like that's a lot. That really is a lot. And I do think they want to take it maybe a little bit easy on Lorenzo Carter coming back from that Achilles injury. So 70 to 80%. Have Azeez out there for the majority of the snaps too, over 50%. And then I think it will be much clearer that O'Shane is the number 3, at least to start, than Quincy Roche. O'Shane's look good as a pass rusher, and I hope that they use him as a pass rusher accordingly on those passing downs, and even putting him out there more often on those rushing downs, even though he's not that great against the run. But you're hoping that a team can maybe pass if there's a fourth quarter where an opposing team is down. You maybe have O'Shane out there for some extra reps, because he certainly has looked pretty decent in practices. If he looked pretty good in New England, and then in the preseason games going up against some of the backups, he's looked really crisp too. So I think Azeez is I think O'Shane is the clear number 3 now, but that very well could change.
Yeah, and I don't want to put too high expectations on Roche. Yeah, Azeez is the clear number 2, and Roche. Like, I know I took him in the 3rd round in my, like, post-Senior Bowl mock draft, but 2 of the disclaimers I had, I was like, I haven't seen a lot of players at this point. And I also even said in that clip, I was like, I think I'm reaching a little bit. Like, at the end of the day, I viewed Roche as a late 3rd, early 4th. So I don't want to expect that guy to come in and be like all right, you're playing week 1. If he can, awesome. And he's versatile, so that can get him on the playing field quicker than O'Shane if their pass rush is similar. But like you said, O'Shane had a good preseason. It was against backups, so I don't want to get too hyped up on him. But he did have a good preseason, and year 3 is when we see players like O'Shane, those mid-round guys, really take their jump.
Yep.
Like, first round, early second, those guys need to take the jump in year 2. Those 3rd, 4th rounders, you see their jump usually happen in year 3, if there is one at all.
You also have a Miami bias with Quincy Roche.
Yeah, I'm trying to bury that deep down.
All right, so next question, Tyler at NYBeast224. Can you make an argument for the Giants' defense being better than Washington's? Yes.
So last year, Washington was ranked 4th, and Giants were 9th.
In what? In yards or points allowed?
Points. Yeah. And yards, it was like 5th and 12th. Here's the stat I look at, though, that could make the Giants better than the Washington defense and where they've upgraded. Last year, the Giants had one less turnover than Washington. So they were ranked 10th in turnovers. Washington was ranked 6th. More blitzing means more man coverage, and it means more opportunities for mistakes by QBs to have turnovers. So that is the way for the New York Giants to become like a top 5, a better defense than what Washington can be. Is interceptions. It's interceptions or sacks on 2nd and 10. Sacks on 1st and 2nd and 10. And now they might have the ability. Lorenzo and Aziz being there is an upgrade over what they had last year. Adoree Jackson is a huge upgrade. And now Patrick Graham gets to be a little more aggressive, take some more risks. Logan Ryan, 2nd year in the system. Blake Martinez, 2nd year in the system. Brett, like all these guys, 2nd year in the system. So that is the way that I can see the Giants being a better defense than Washington, is by them being a team that intercepts the QB often.
Yeah, and I think increasing that blitz rate is going to dramatically change this Giants defense as well. And it comes down to, what do you prefer? Giants have a better secondary than Washington, and I know even some Washington fans will argue that, but screw you. We don't have Washington fans listening to this podcast. So Giants have better secondary than Washington, and then Washington clearly has a better pass rush than the Giants do. I would still even say that the Giants linebackers are better than Washington's linebackers. I think they're a lot more diverse in what they can do. So it's a matter of, what do you prefer? Do you prefer the pass rush, and do you prefer the front end, or do you prefer the back end? I certainly prefer having the back end, and I think if you have a good secondary, the rest of the defense can follow, and the rest of the defense can fall into place from there. So I'm looking at DVOA, and I'm actually very interested by this. So total DVOA, Washington was 3rd last year, 3rd best in the National Football League, and the Giants were 19th. But I think a lot of that has to do with efficiency, because DVOA is all about efficiency. And Giants defense wasn't efficient, but they were good at preventing points. So we shall see this year. But I prefer the back end and having good coverage versus a good pass rush.
Do you think the Giants defense is better than Washington's defense?
I do. Because I prefer having the back end with coverage.
Yeah, but Washington's defense was better than the Giants defense last year.
I think they're going to be better this year.
All right. I'm interested to see the Chase Young year 2 jump, because you look at the best pass rushers in the game in their rookie years. Like, he had a good rookie year, but it wasn't like people acted like he had 15 sacks. He had 7. I could see him having 15 this year, and Montez Sweat being that guy, and and Allen in the middle, and them just being a front four that just wrecks teams. So I would still give Washington's, and they added a corner in Will Jackson. He's not on Bradbury or Adoree Jackson's level, but I think Washington's biggest worry should be their O-line and their QB. I think they're in a very similar situation than the New York Giants. So, yeah, I want to read the next ad.
Yeah, let's read the next ad. You want to read it, or I want to read it? I'm going to read it, Bobby Skinner. I'm taking control. Guess what? Today's episode is also sponsored by Manscaped, the leaders in below-the-waist grooming. Bobby, it's time to go back to school. We have a lot of college kids that listen to our show, and you're already back at school, so, I guess congratulations. You're getting through syllabus week. Hope you partied it up. We want to make sure that you have the essentials to get through this year. Manscaped, the 4th generation performance package, is just that. To help you get ready for the school year. Things are opening up. Be ready for whatever is in the daily schedule for you. It's the perfect package for your package. Includes the brand new Lawnmower 4.0. Go for the Veil Victorian and ball trimming. Join the 2 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped by going to manscaped.com with the code GIANTS. Lawnmower 4.0, 7,000 RPM motor. New multifunction on-off switch can engage a travel lock. Gives you the ability to turn 4000K LED spotlight on and off when needed for a more precise shave. And did I mention that this is waterproof too? Probably its best feature. Package also comes with the Weed Whacker to chop your worst weeds up top, in my nose, in the ear, which I have those gnarly nose hairs. Keep on coming back. Weed Whacker is helpful there. Weed Whacker is also waterproof, 9,000 RPM motor, 360-degree rotary with the dual blade system. Manscaped is also going to throw in 2 free gifts to their Performance Package 4.0, Manscaped Boxers and the Shed Travel Bag. Get 20% off plus free shipping with the code GIANTS at manscaped.com. That's 20% off plus free shipping with code GIANTS at manscaped.com. This year, graduate with a degree in clean balls with Manscaped. Thank you to Manscaped.
All right, next question.
Next question is coming from Jason S. Allen at Jason S. Allen 2. If Hernandez plays the best footballs of his career, do the Giants re-sign him with cap space in mind?
Yeah, absolutely. We have no if he's good this year, we are in no position to be pushing offensive linemen away. So yeah, I think that would be the easy there's decisions to be made on Evan Ingram, Jabril Peppers, even Lorenzo Carter. If Will Hernandez is good, you pay him. It's like it would be the simplest move of the offseason. Pay him. Re-sign him week 13 or whatever it is.
I can't talk about the cap extensively because I'm not an expert on the cap, but I really hope it grows more than we're expecting because the Giants need it. I was even doing some reading from Over the Cap talking about how the Giants may still need to make some moves to get under the cap. I don't know if that's true. I got to figure out how the cap works. That's one of my goals now that I'm full-time is to kind of understand it more, even though nobody really understands it. Even experts are still a little confused on it sometimes too. But the Giants cap situation is tough. Like, we're going to have to say goodbye to somebody that we don't want to say goodbye to. And it's going to hurt even more when Evan Ingram is extended to.
Yeah, I mean, if we say goodbye to Evan Ingram, it won't hurt much.
But I don't think we're going to. That's the issue.
We'll see. I mean, as much as I feel like there's a different point of view because like people don't really want Evan Ingram back, but it's like, you know what? He's going into his final year not signed, kicking off week 1 with no sign. Like,
yeah.
So why do we view that as like, oh, Evan Ingram's going to be back and Jabril's not? And I'm not. And again, if I don't think Jabril's probably going to come back unless he agrees to a lesser contract than he probably get in the open market. But like I don't know. I don't expect Evan Ingram to be brought back either. They signed Kyle Rudolph. They didn't sign him for nothing. And maybe they got a ton of draft picks next year. Maybe tight end something they look at. And I'm a Caden Smith fan too.
Yeah.
But Will Hernandez would be the easiest one of the offseason. If he's good, sign him back.
Yeah.
Even if he's not that good, I still would probably just bring him back as depth. Like we can't be pushing offensive linemen away that have like a baseline of decent.
No, we are in no position to do that. And, getting shades of Kevin Zeitler, of letting that guy walk and releasing him and not restructuring him when the Giants have a huge interior offensive line question right now. It hurts. I think it was still kind of the right move when you look at the cap situation and who else we were able to bring in this offseason. But a lot of fans are hurt by that, saying, hey, we kind of just let our best offensive lineman walk, and we certainly did that. So, all right. Dave Gettleman, the Dave Gettleman parody account, at David A. Gettleman. Should I read it in his voice and his accent?
Do whatever you want.
If it's for the betterment of the team, are you 100% against starting Andrew Thomas at right tackle and Matt Parrott at left tackle?
No, but it's just not for the betterment of the team. Like, I've heard the argument, it's like, well, Parrott's a longer, but it's like, and then people will say that Parrott's more athletic than Thomas. He's not. Go look at shuttle times. Thomas is a much more athletic offensive tackle than Matt Parrott. Watch him in the run game. Thomas he's just much more athletic. So if it was for the betterment, yeah, I'd do whatever for the betterment. That's why I said if they want to put someone in at center who they think is going to be the long-term player there, then yes, move Nick Gates out to guard. But don't do it just as a stopgap. Like, don't, if they had an injury, don't put Harrison at center and then move Gates out to guard. But it's just, I'm not as panicked about Thomas as everybody else. I'm not.
Yeah.
I know he played bad in that game. It made me feel a lot less. I'm not as confident as I was, but I'm also not panicked about Andrew Thomas. Like, I don't think he should be panicked. Like, his second half of last year was very real. And what you saw, like, the stuff that from the preseason game is fixable. And also is probably a really good lesson to him because he almost had overcorrected his issues. And so I think it's a good way to get back to the drawing board and find that happy medium. So am I expecting him to be all pro this year? No. But I'm not panicked about Andrew Thomas. Matt Parrott, I am 100% panicked about, and I don't think I'll ever be comfortable with Matt Parrott on my QB's blind side.
I don't understand where this talking point came from. If Matt Parrott isn't as talented as Andrew Thomas, and maybe this is where it comes from. Maybe people think because they haven't seen Matt Parrott, and we have hope for Matt Parrott versus people saw what Andrew Thomas did last year, which half of it was bad, half of it was decent. Do people think that because they haven't seen Matt Parrott and because they have hope for him that he can be a better left tackle? than Andrew Thomas. I don't know where
if Matt
that
Parrott's
came
the left
from.
tackle, Daniel Jones' fumbles problem come back. His fumble issue is 100% back.
Yeah.
So yeah, I never want Matt Parrott as my starting left tackle.
Yeah.
And it doesn't. Hey, if they go into next year's draft and they want to, if they have a top pick and they want to pick a left tackle and it means moving Andrew to right tackle, I'm all for it. If Evan Neal looked really good at left tackle this year, they want to draft Evan Neal, who I love, and put him at left tackle and move Andrew to right. I'm 100% for that, but I will never be on board with putting Parrott at left tackle.
Yeah.
A
player who is less talented than Andrew Thomas. But, Matt Parrott, I will always love this YouTube comment we got. Matt Parrott is not a right tackle. He's a left tackle. Right tackle is kind of like an easier position to play than left tackle, and he's struggling there. So you want to put him at left?
He played right tackle in college, too.
Yeah, so bizarre. But thank you for the question, Dave Gettleman. Hopefully you're not actually thinking that in the building. Tim Coffey at I'm not even gonna Jug Bigot. Bigot. No, not Bigot. We don't want to say that. I don't understand how to say his username. What nickname will the Forest safety set get after shutting offenses down this year? And how often do you expect to see 21 personnel? And if it's Penny/Quad/Tony, is it more like 31 personnel? I was watching Talladega Nights over the weekend, and the Magic Man. So I think we're going to call the secondary the Magic Men. Now you see him, now you don't.
It's any good New York Giants secondary will always just be called NYPD.
I wanted to get unique.
That's always, and plus it's not like it's just the safeties. They have James Bradbury and Adoree Jackson. Any Giants secondary will it's might not be new, but it is what it will be called. It will be called the NYPD, which I love. Like, that's a really good nickname.
It is.
As far as the personnel thing, I don't see a bunch of fullback stuff because they like using Caden Smith as that H-back lead back role. So they're going to run a ton of 2 tight end stuff. Even if Evan Ingram's out this week, I think they're still going to run a ton of 2 tight end sets, which I'm a fan of that. But I don't think Penny's going to get on the field a ton as a fullback. I think it's just going to be kind of the same as it's always been. He'll get 5 to 8 reps a game at that fullback spot. I don't see us ever, at least with Elijah Penny as our fullback, who I didn't like, but now I do like. I don't see us ever using him the way the Patriots use like Pat Devlin, where it's like we're going to line up like this for an entire game and see how you like it.
Yeah.
Which is why I would have liked to sign Ben Mason, who the Patriots did, because that is the type of guy where it's like, if you guys want to play small on us, we will put this son of a gun at fullback and we will dominate your ass all game with the run game.
Yeah.
That's the kind of advantage that Ben Mason gives you. Penny can be a good fullback, but he's never going to give you that advantage that Ben Mason would be.
I also think the Patriots did that because they had Cam Newton last year, and it was just very...
Well, they did that with Brady, too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah? Maybe that'll change. Maybe it won't. Maybe it won't change with Mac Jones. So we'll see this year. But yeah, I don't think the Giants have that offense like whether it's Patriots or San Francisco that uses a fullback every single play. I like 11 personnel. I think there's a lot of different things you can do with 11 personnel, and I do like the way that they, at least if you look at it personnel-wise and the personnel grouping frequency, the way that they mix up 13 personnel, 12 personnel, and I wish they did 11 personnel under the center a little bit more. However, Daniel Jones is a much better thrower out of the shotgun. And I think Saquon Barkley is even a better runner out of the shotgun, too. They should do more shotgun. More 12 personnel out of shotgun. They have done that sometimes. So I think Saquon and Jones are better out of the shotgun. But typically that means that you're in 11 personnel. So I do like the way that they mix up the formations. Moral of the story.
Yeah, and I think we're going to get a ton of different looks. I don't think we're going to get as much like 3 tight end, Austin Mack at wide receiver reps. Not with Saquon at running back, at least.
Yeah. Who's going to be I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Sports Management Worldwide, I'm so sorry. You just took a really big breath. Who's going to be like the Austin Mack this year where whenever this guy's in the game, it's going to be a running play?
I don't think we have that guy.
No? I mean, Shepard's a really good blocking wide receiver, so I would love for him to, if there's one wide receiver that's on the field during like 13 personnel, let's say, then I would love Shepard to be that blocking wide receiver. He's a really good blocker. I mean, he's not big and physical, but
I just don't want him getting concussions blocking anymore, which has happened before.
That's him getting concussions blocking? That's how that's happened?
Week 1 Dallas 2019. He got a concussion on a line, motioning in and blocking through the hole.
Oh, yikes.
Sports Management Worldwide is the global leader in online sports business education. We teach people how to work on the business side of sports. All of our classes are taught by industry professionals. Your mentors have been in the game you want to work in and done the jobs you want to do. SMWW has had graduates work for all 32 NFL teams, including Patrick Hanscom, who's an area scout for the Giants. SMWW can train you to be an agent, a scout, work in the front office, work in the film with digital video editing tool XOS Thunder, used by all 32 teams. Learn from people like former Tampa Bay GM Mark Dominic, football analytics guru Aaron Schatz, and Mike Tanier of Football Outsiders, football player development from former NFL coach Steve Fairchild. Learn the skills and knowledge you need to know to work in football at all levels and turn your dreams into reality. They may not be able to teach Dak Prescott. That was going to be... There's a lot of things that they can't teach, but they can teach you to do all those things, and they can teach you how to work in football. Apply free at smww.com and use the discount code GIANTS for 50% off the course of your choice. They offer courses in football, baseball, basketball, soccer, and more. If you have always dreamed of a job working in sports, Sports Management Worldwide can help you. From sports betting to esports, sports broadcasting, hey, maybe Justin should take a course. They have the what you know and who you know to get you in the game you love.
We have one more question. It's about special teams. So basically, this show's over. No, I'm kidding.
No, I actually have a real take on it. I want to have my stance.
I was kidding. But you sent us a bad video of a Bronco, and you definitely should not post it.
Well, do the special team question, and then we can get into that.
Okay. Snacks, Bobby, and I, we have a group chat, and Bobby sent us a terrible video.
I sent it to Tim Coffey and Mr. Brownstone, too.
Oh, great.
Because I know they would appreciate it.
Yeah. Doug, who has a very long and complicated username that is not pronounceable. I know it's talking Giants versus special teams. You got that right. But what are your thoughts on keeping so many players mainly for special teams? CJ Board, Cam... I love how he names the players, too. CJ Board, Cam Brown, Keon Crossan, Colin Gillespie, Brightwell, Justin Hilliard, plus Dixon, Gano, Kreider, but those are the usuals. Would you rather have better depth but worse special teams? That's the question.
Here's what I'll say, because, you mentioned all those guys, but they also, they traded a 6th-round pick for Keon Crossan. Obviously we joke about special teams, and we're never going to break down special teams on this show, unless we form some type of alliance to Joe Judge, basically to openly admit, hey, I follow the Talking Giants guys. If that doesn't happen, we're not talking about special teams that much. But I am fine with it. We joke about special teams. If we have all these guys, we better be a top special teams unit. We better not have no Cincinnati kick returns for touchdowns this year. They need to be a top special teams unit. It has to pay off. Putting all these resources in the special teams have to pay off. It is a part of the game. It's not a third of the game, but it is a part of the game. It's an important part of the game, and it can make or break games. But they have to be good this year. You put all these resources in the special teams, they have to be good.
The Giants, according to Football Outsiders and according to DVOA, defense value over average. So basically, when I say that New England had the best special teams DVOA last year and they were the best special teams unit, basically means they were the most efficient. But DVOA is they were 8.1% better than the average level replacement special teams unit. That's what DVOA basically means. So the Giants ranked 12th last year just as a special teams unit. They were 17th the year before. Field goal, extra points, there's no ranking. The best that they had was punt. Their punt team was the best. Their punt and punt return team was the best in terms of DVOA, in terms of they had a positive DVOA, that's what you want. So that better be top 5 this year. I agree with you, Bobby. Last year they had Cam Brown in there and Nate Ebner was in there, but now I feel like there's a lot more guys that are devoted on this roster saying that you are a special teamer. So I agree with you that when I look at this Football Outsiders DVOA, because really, what other way is there to evaluate special teams? I don't know, in terms of one that is kind of looking at overall efficiency and the group overall, rather than finger pointing plays here and there. This better be top 5. I agree.
No doubt. Gary Brightway, you have a lesser running back as your third string running back because of special teams. Keon Crossan, like I don't trust him playing cornerback at all. You traded a 6th-round pick, special team, like so. There's got Colin Gillespie. There's no need to have a second fullback for offense. It's strictly special teams, even though Ebner will probably replace him. Like so, I'm cool with it. I understand. We joke about it, but it has to be good. It has to be and you have a special teams head coach, and obviously McGahee, who was one of the guys they liked enough to keep around. So yeah, be good, and you will not hear us complain about having special teams players on the team, or a lot of special teams players on the team.
Should I do a in my talking analytics, talking stats report video on YouTube this year? Should I devote 30 seconds to special teams and talk about the DVOA?
You honestly should.
Because
we should. How the punts went and things like that.
Yeah, man, I wish there was next gen data available about air yards and top speed. It is available. The NFL teams have access to this. It's just that they choose, because they're scumbags. The NFL chooses not to release all of their data. Like, how fast is what's Cam Brown's top speed as a gunner? Like, I would love to see that stuff. How far in the air is Riley Dixon's punts going, and what is the hang time? They have all this data, and they just choose not to release it to the public,
it's
which is
game
stupid.
week, and they're still not all 22 out.
Stupid.
So, I'm going to go burn down the NFL headquarters.
New York.
If they don't have it.
You got to come back to New York, unfortunately.
I will summon some of our listeners to burn it down.
Okay.
All right, sounds good. That's an episode.
All right, show's over. But you cannot post that video.
I know I can't. It is. Some would say our videos last year were teetering on the line. I never felt like anyone was like messed up. This one is so messed up. It is like I would understand the backlash, and I could handle the backlash, but it's just it's our bosses wouldn't be too happy about it.
I wouldn't be too happy about it.
It would be it would get the most reaction out of any. I mean, it is so messed up.
It shook me. It shook me to my core.
Yeah, I didn't even like. Well, I was like, I don't even want to. Like, this isn't funny.
I had to watch it like 3 times to see the physics of how. All right, so
I thought about morphing Daniel Jones and Joe Judge's heads onto the 2 people, and that would make it a little more lighthearted. But that it's just it's not worth it. I have another idea for it. That will be a lot. People will think it's funny.
All right,
but this one we couldn't put it out there.
All right, just as context, our contribution to game day, whenever we play an animal-centered team, Bobby would post a video of said animal sort of being executed, I guess.
Like a Notre Dame football team.
Like the Notre Dame football team. And there was too graphic of a video Bobby sent us, and it still has shaken me. It has me shook, as the kids say.
It would cause chaos. We can't do it.
No.
But what we will be doing, I haven't picked the intro for this song, so people in the Patreon chat, give me some intro recommendations. Friday morning, your podcast feeds, your YouTube, the season officially starts. We will have our Broncos Week 1 preview. I'm very pumped for it. We're keeping the format the same. First portion is me and Justin talking about the matchup. Do a quick 15-minute interview with someone who covers the other team. And then we'll finish with our fantasy draft, quick picks, and giant factors. I'm very excited. I mean, I do a little speech at the start of every first Week 1 intro. I've kind of got it. I'm working on it already, so I'm very excited. Thank you for sticking with us this offseason. We appreciate you guys. Any last words, Justin?
No. I'm ready for football. Thanks for putting up with me in my Nebraska Cornhusker hat this episode, everybody.
Appreciate you guys. We'll see you on Friday. Until then, let's go Big Blue.